So there's a lot to talk about. Episode 6, Strange New Worlds. This Liberty Blop who ate its own tail. So this show is just an absolute roller coaster of madness. It's all over the place. But, so we've gone from last week, my most hated episode, to episode 6, my favourite episode of the entire series. So was it perfect? No. You know, did it have problems? Yes, but there was a moment during this episode, for very specific reasons, where I genuinely now kind of felt like this.
What do you see? Home.
So here's the thing, right? This episode had moments of really exceptional, exciting storytelling, but particularly with the crew dynamic when they beam off the Enterprise and onto the Farragut, okay? But I'll come back to that in a second. This episode is pretty much a pilot for a follow-on show with Kirk and the crew, right? Probably a remake of TOS. But I loved it as an episode because Pike actually had something to do in this episode. I love the bit where he's being shot at and he grabs the bottle of whatever vintage whiskey it was to protect it, and just goes, yeah, whatever, and throws it into the firefight. I thought the Big Daddy baddies from BioShock were great. There was a real sense of threat from these guys, and I personally really liked the Monster Face ship. Now, everyone thought it was going to be a doomsday machine, and I was kind of hoping it wasn't, and I'm glad it wasn't. But I loved this ship. It had no reason to have a monster face, but I thought it was really cool. But particularly, I loved the visual effects sequence when the Enterprise warps in to defend the Farragut against that ship. There was a real sense of danger, and for a moment I didn't think it was the Enterprise. I thought it was just a random Starfleet ship, and I thought it was going to be destroyed. But it was a brilliant little piece of visual effects. I thought it was gorgeous looking. I love the fact that you could see the ship maneuver around in 3D space. I thought the battle was great. Real tension. There was real danger. Excellent. The gold came when the original TOS crew beamed on board the Farragut. So I haven't been massively sold on Paul Wesley as Kirk up until this episode. What was really interesting was the dynamic between the original crew, so Spock, Scotty, Uhura, Nurse Chapel and Kirk, when they beamed on board the same set. But I didn't really care about that. I know some people cared about the fact that they used the same set. Didn't care. It wasn't a big backdrop LED screen, whatever. But the whole dynamic between the crew and how they spoke to each other felt completely different to me than how they behaved towards each other on the Enterprise. Apart from Scotty's bizarre insubordination and attitude at the beginning, like, it made no sense whatsoever. But putting that aside for a second, even Spock's behaviour towards Kirk in the ready room felt different. You could sense the bond between the two, even though they don't know each other that well. You could sense that this was something that was going to develop into what we know today as one of the, best pairings of characters on TV ever. But particularly, I really liked Paul Wesley in this. You see, the problem with Kirk is that he's so defined by William Shatner. I mean, William Shatner is Kirk. And the problem with it is that you can't replace William Shatner. You just can't. But there was something about Paul Wesley's performance in this particular episode which made me kind of sit up and go, okay, I think he's got it. And it came when he sat in the chair. The way he sat in the captain's chair, I just thought he fucking owned it. And I really liked him in this episode as whatever interpretation of Kirk he's going for. I thought it was great. But if this is what I think it is, which was a test for a follow-on show with Kirk and the crew, I think it was a really interesting and really well done pilot episode for a follow-on show. Like, something just clicked with the way everyone behaved on the bridge that made it feel like a Star Trek show. It was exciting. I thought the villains, the antagonists, were a really interesting little addition or something new to the franchise. And I kind of loved that aspect of this rogue group of humans who left Earth or left Mars after World War III and went off into the galaxy, and something happened to them where they all turned into this ravenous scavenger group of people that destroy worlds to harvest resources for their own ship and survival. And there was something like human yet inhuman about them. So I was wondering whether there was some kind of merging with technology there. Even when Pike kind of removed removed the helmet at the end, the face inside was human, but there was something uncanny valley about it. There was something off about the face. And I was wondering if there was some sort of, I don't know, Borg-like technological thing going on with those big suits, which I thought were brilliant. I loved the big spacesuits they were wearing. Or maybe they were part of their bodies. I don't know. Maybe they were merged with the technology. Now, Strange New Worlds is bananas. It's all over the place. But this particular episode gave me a little bit of glimmer of hope, tied with the fact that obviously the big Paramount merger is coming in and it might go in a different direction. For me, it felt like something clicked and they got all the beats right. Like, everything in the episode worked. The plot moved along really well, consistently. I felt real danger, real stakes. I thought Kirk handling his first command, the uncertainty of it, the no-win scenario almost about it. I loved the ejection of the nacelles at the end of it by the Farragut as a weapon. Like, how... That's so clever. What a great piece of Star Trek. Like, what a great piece of innovative science fiction adventure. Like, that's exactly what we want. I think this is the show. Like, this episode is the show. And I wanted to sort of champion it as a blueprint of where it could go. And I thought it important to dress appropriately for that. I don't know if this is going to be like a one and done situation. We're back to episode 7 next week, which is, I don't know, everybody's made of cheese. I don't know. This show was bananas. But I wanted to make a particular point about this episode being a little bit of a glimmer of what Star Trek is supposed to be about. I thought Pelia was really funny. I don't know what Pelia is. Does anybody know what Pelia is? Pelia an engineer? Is she head of engineering? Is she just part of what's Pelia doing on the ship? I don't understand what it is she does there. What is? It made me feel a little old because when Pelia was taking all the telephones and stuff out of her little 80s box, I recognised absolutely everything. So that was depressing. I thought the rigging of the phones up to use as phones was just fun. It was just loads of fun. That was great. So yeah, loved this episode. I'm here to champion more of this. Please, this is the direction that I think you can land. But now I'm worried that we've got three more episodes of bananas stuff. I think if they do decide to go with a follow-on show with Kirk and Spock and the crew, I like this cast. This episode really worked for me, and I think it's the way forward. I'm here to champion that before we get back to next week, which is going to be, I don't know, more nonsense. I don't know. Yeah, more of this, please. More of this.